Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I make some videos on tech, be it in IT support, unboxing, gadgets, and some good stuff. So I have made a video today for Michelle Brooks' request asking what is the most difficult part in IT is, and I will be talking about that on this video. So if you're interested on this topic, please keep on watching, and without further ado, let's get started with the video. Okay, so the topic for today's vlog is the most challenging and difficult aspect in IT. And we won't be just talking about the challenges, but I'm also going to give a few tips or advice on how to deal with them based on my personal experience. So let's get started with the first, and which I consider one of the most challenging aspect when you are working in IT support. And I think not just in IT support or in the tech industry in general, but I think almost every industry or field that you work in, I think this is considered as the most challenging aspect as well. So I think the users are the most difficult and the most challenging aspect in the company, and in IT we consider them as the end users. So let's get started with what does it mean when we say end users. So if we say end users, it's anyone, basically anyone who uses the computer or the computerized system. So that's basically almost everyone in the company, all the employees or the majority of the employees that are working in the company. Even if you are not working in the tech sector or industry, I believe that nowadays everything is almost computerized and automated, that we have to use a computer, and that's where IT support comes in, because we support the systems, we support the users, and that is generally one of the biggest challenges when you're working in IT support, because in almost every job description out there for the IT support specialist, this job description, I think that supporting users is one of the major roles that you have to do. Okay, so I can give you a few reasons why the users can be considered as one of the most challenging and difficult aspects in IT support. And number one is the attitude. Like, let's be honest, most of the people that we deal with are normally kind, nice, and everything, but there are some that are rude or impolite and are just having a bad day in general. And it goes to every other jobs as well. It's not just in IT support, and I think that that's one of the most challenging aspect, because you are sometimes absorbing the negativity from the people, but you can't really necessarily blame them for feeling that way, because they are also frustrated that something is not working, and sometimes that they're really upset and pissed that something is down. So that is one of the reasons why it's really a challenge, because it is easier to deal with an issue with the computer itself, because at the press of the button you will be able to resolve it. But with people, you have to explain things to them, you have to be more patient with them, because they have feelings and they have different personalities. Next reason why users are one of the most challenging aspects is they are sometimes uncooperative. And what does uncooperative really means? So I can give you an example or a scenario. Most of the time when we are troubleshooting, or if someone reaches out to us for an issue or a problem, the first thing that we do is ask them a lot of questions. Ask them questions to help us narrow down what the cause or the root issue is for the problem, so it'll be easier for us to troubleshoot. But sometimes users are uncooperative when we ask them very specific questions. For example, if a VM is not responsive, it's very slow in by the user's experience, I would ask questions like, what commands are you trying to run that seems to be slowing down the VM? And when the user gets back to you in response with just a simple command or nothing at all that answers anything answers any of your questions. And last are the needy users. Though I don't consider this as the most difficult aspect in IT, I do consider this as challenging as well in some other cases. So who are these needy users? So these are what we consider the non-technical users. They are from the non-technical teams or department in our company, like accounting department, HR, marketing, and other departments that are really not dealing with technology. So they are needy, but they really just ask the simple basic questions most of the time. So this is really not a difficult aspect, but sometimes it can be a challenge if they have been constantly asking you for things that they have been asking repeatedly again and again, over and over again. It can also be a challenge because the needy users always ask you for stuff that you have been telling them over and over again, and this is challenging when you are doing a lot of work or you are dealing with a crisis or emergency or an urgent matter, and they have been like really bugging you to help them as well on something. Okay, so just a few tips on how to deal with this challenge with the users is just really to extend your patience. Like, just be patient with everything, even if someone is really a pain, really impolite, really rude, really unprofessional with you. Just try your best to be professional at all times, to be as calm as you can, but still firm with your decision or whatever it is that you have been talking about. And just make sure that you have been addressing everything politely, because at the end of the day, if you have been professional, they can't say anything against you. What matters most is, even if they were that negative towards you, you still did your best, you were still professional, you still did everything on your end to make everything work. And if they have been negative still, even if you have been giving them all the positivity, the professionalism, you can always report them to your manager, their manager, or HR, and let them help you deal and manage that kind of situation, because we just wanted to be professional at all times and just help people. Okay, so now let's move on to another challenge in IT, and that is on call or being on call. So in IT, it's inevitable that you don't have to do any on-call shift or duties, because the IT manages the overall infrastructure of all of the internal systems and networks in the company. So if something happens, if a system or network crashes or is down or is having an outage, anytime, it doesn't pick a time and anyway, if it wants to crash or it crashes, we in IT really have to deal with it, especially if it's mission critical, it's revenue impacting. So that is really challenging and difficult, because when we say on call, these are the time frame that is outside of the normal business hours or the normal working hours, which means that it is somewhere between 6 o'clock to like early in the morning, and it happens during the weekends and during the holidays as well, unfortunately. So why is this a challenge? Why on-call is a challenge? Well, we have been working for 8 hours or more every day, from 9 to 5 or 6 or more. And then we get paged or pinged for on-call. And we have to work after those hours at 7, 8, 9, 10, when we're supposed to have dinners, we're supposed to do chores. So it's really very difficult to have a work-life balance like that if you have on-call shift, because we all have a life. We all have a life outside of work. We don't work 24/7. We are not robots. Even robots get to rest, gets to be shut down. But we all have chores to do. We have errands. We have kids, pets to take care of. We want to spend our lives at least. Okay, let's move on now to the next challenge, and that is the maintenance and upgrades. So doing maintenance and upgrades can be really challenging, and it's because scheduling is really a challenge, and it's really tough because you have to coordinate with all of the different departments and teams involved on a schedule that everyone agreed on, that is less impactful on everyone, and sometimes the schedules don't coordinate with that. So that alone, the scheduling alone, could really be one of the most difficult aspects in IT. And now that you have scheduled everything, everyone agreed on a specific day to do the maintenance or the upgrade, you think that your work is done, but it's really not, because there's another challenge that comes after it. And it's because maintenance and upgrade takes a really long time. It takes tons of time, a really long time. It takes a while to get all the work done, because it's not just doing the maintenance itself, because maintenance itself sometimes takes hours. Sometimes for just one server it takes 6 hours at least, because it's not just doing a simple maintenance or an upgrade on a single personal machine. It's the entire company's server or system or network. So it really takes a long time. And even though maintenance and upgrades take a really long time, a lot of hours to get the work done, there is a more challenging part of it, and that is verifying that everything is back up and running, everything is back up and online. And usually that is the more challenging part, because sometimes systems, network services don't come back up, and there's gotta be an issue or an error somewhere that might happen during the maintenance or upgrade. And after the verification process, you think that you're done, but you're really not, because there's also the testing phase or cycle of it, the testing part of it. Make sure that everything is operational. Okay, everything is back up and running after the maintenance or the upgrade, but is it working? Is it working correctly? Is it working as expected? So you have to do a test as well after all the maintenance and upgrade to make sure that everything is running as smoothly as expected. And that is another challenge, because sometimes stuff happens, life happens, something breaks along the way, and there's an error, you have to troubleshoot it, and it usually takes longer than the actual maintenance process. So that really is another challenging part. So verification and testing are really the difficult part in maintenance and upgrade and in an IT person's life. Okay, the last but not the least that I could think of that is a challenge or a difficult part in IT support is the random questions or requests from the users, because we are the first responders when it comes to issues and problems, and we are the go-to if they have anything that is related to tech and that is computer related, or that is a device or equipment or a gadget that is electronic. They always go to their IT, and sometimes they ask us about a system or an issue or something that we have never heard of, and that is really challenging and difficult, because first of all, we have no idea what they are talking about. Sometimes they ask about a request or an issue in a system that you have never seen in your life, because it's legacy and you didn't even know that it exists and that they are using it, because not all the systems are being supported by the local IT person in the companies. Most of the systems or the other systems that the other departments are using are third party, but since it's a software in the computer, people will still come to you, reach out to ask about it, get help about it, and it's really hard to not have any clue or idea on what they are talking about, what that is, what it's used for, and that's really challenging and difficult, because you don't know how to help them, because you don't know what it is. You have no idea what it is. So that's one of the challenges that I have, especially if I have seen something that I have never seen in my whole life, and some people are requesting for it, and it's kind of urgent, because I have to do a lot of digging and a lot of research in order to just understand what they are even asking about. So that is one of the most challenging aspects in IT that I have been struggling with. And just a tip and advice for that is that don't be afraid to ask questions, and always look for documentation in your system first, because maybe there's just something buried in there somewhere. And if you didn't find any, just don't hesitate or be afraid to ask your team to direct you to the other team that knows about it until you get to the person that has an idea or a clue on what it is. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of digging and a lot of research, but you will get somewhere. Instead of just trying to figure out everything on your own, you can always ask people around. Maybe they have more idea than you. So that would be a great tip for that challenge. Okay, so that concludes the rest of the video. That's pretty much all I could think of as a challenge and the most difficult part or aspect in IT support. And I hope that you have learned something from this video. And for those who are in IT or trying to venture into the IT support industry or the tech industry, I hope that you can somehow pick up something, some tips on it, and that you can relate to it as well. And if you have any questions or follow-up questions on this video, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section down below. And if you have any other questions on anything that's related on tech or IT, please feel free to comment that below as well. And I hope to see you on my next video. Thank you so much for watching.